Hello, good morning. I decided to do this video on a little bit of motivation as we forge through this day. I'm going to talk a little bit or touch a little bit on breaching your boundaries. Breaching your boundaries. Yep. What do I mean by breaching your boundaries? Well, it's all about forging through those set limitations, self-imposed limitations. The idea that some things are actually unachievable. And the first thing I'm going to talk about this morning is we being our own greatest enemies. Sometimes when it comes to great achievements, you are your own greatest enemy. What do I mean by this? Because you owe yourself the responsibility of selling yourself a good story. You owe yourself the responsibility. You have the infinite capacity as human beings to tell ourselves stories, and the most important one we tell ourselves is about ourselves. So what story are you selling to yourself? As an entrepreneur, business owner, employee, or aspiring business owner, there's a difference between the skills that we just haven't developed yet and the self-imposed limitations we place on ourselves. True or sanctity and fair. What do I mean by this? Imagine I want to learn computer programming. I don't know anything about computer programming. I see people do programming. I see people make 6, 7 digits or income on computer programming, and I'll be like, wow. It's going to take me another 1 year to learn this. It's going to take me another 70 years to learn this. That's a story. Or somebody else will walk up to you and say, how do you guys do these things? I studied economics. I can never know this thing. That is a limitation. I've seen farmers. I've seen forestry graduates become great programmers. So what story are you selling yourself? The story you sell to yourself today is your responsibility. But how do you know the difference between a genuine limitation and bogus stories that you're telling yourself? Wow, we know that limitations do exist in actual sense, but how do you differentiate between these limitations? Adjust the story you're telling yourself. How do you get rid of self-imposed boundaries and break through to greater achievements? Right? So I'm just going to run us through a few steps here and there of how to break through these boundaries. The first one I'm going to talk about is look out for the word they. Theay, they, quote and unquote. They won't give me a shot. They won't. How can I just joined the company. How can I get promoted? They're going to say I'm new in the system. They will say I'm just an economist. They will say I'm just a baby salesperson. They will say I'm just a baby programmer. No. Remove that limitation there. You need to begin to use more assertive words. I am the best there is. I am the greatest at this. Even if I can't do this now, in another few weeks I'll be the best at this. These are ways to fight through these boundaries. You need to be assertive. You need to be firm. You need to make conscious efforts to position yourself in a place where you can actually project yourself to the world as the best. Right? Another thing I'm going to talk about is get in touch with your motivation. What motivates you? Really? That's my question to you this morning. What's your motivation? Right? What helps you find meaning in life? What gives you the purpose statement? They say, if you're applying into an institution, maybe, or you're applying into a job, you ask you to write a purpose statement. Most times we go online, bring sweet words. But in actual sense, what is your purpose? What do you intend to bring to the table? What's your motivation? What brings you joy? I keep saying something that I would still want to find myself in sports one day, eventually, because anything sports give me joy, especially football, anything football gives me joy. I'd always wanted to be a football player. Of course, that is impossible anymore. But I still feel one way or the other, I still find myself in sports because it gives me fulfillment. These are the things that makes you wake up in the morning. What gives you joy? Well, your motivation is what makes you wake up in the morning and pick up your bag and say, okay, I'm getting to work. It gives you general direction which to move forward. This is like using it, for instance, it's like driving through a Google map. When Google Map first came, let me share a story. I was supposed to pick a brother of mine at Ojota Park. Actually, I used the Google map and he drove me through somebody's compound where I actually couldn't move forward, so I had to turn back. But in actual sense, when you're driving through a GPS, the road might be bent, might have a lot of curves, that's your direction, but you're still going to get it to where you're going. The action is the route, and sometimes the route is not always straight. It's not always straight. So to become a great person, to become successful, you need to navigate through this route. So I'm going to ask again, what is your motivation? Another thing you need to know is you need to learn to accept discomfort. There is this common saying that life starts at the end of your comfort zone. Yeah, it's true. But do you even know what your comfort zone is? Because you wake up as early as 5 a.m., you get back 10 p.m. and you feel you're struggling, you're not in your comfort zone. But your 8 hours, your 9 hours shift at work, you put in the extra miles. See, forget about waking up 4 a.m., 10 a.m. When you talk about comfort zone, it's the extra shift you put in, after extra productive hours you put in on a daily basis. It's not about going to work 6 a.m., coming back 12 midnight. It's about what you did with those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. What you did with those 2 extra hours. So, are you still operating within your comfort zone? Pushing forward to meet your goals is an exercise. Do you know that? I got back to the gym a few days ago. I just did a little bit of powerlifting, and then trust me, the following morning I couldn't raise my left arm. That is it. Most instances, after a couple of days, I'll stop again because I just couldn't bear the pain. This is applicable into our daily activities. So I'm going to ask you again: Are you operating outside your comfort zone? Right? So you need to operate with discomfort. Forget the pains. There is a greater target ahead of you. There's something you set out to achieve. Until you achieve that, you shouldn't stop.